Hi, my name is Apriel Campbell, and you're watching and listening to the Community Leaders Podcast.
Yo, what's up? It's your boy Los LOS, and you are watching and listening to the Community Leaders Podcast. And today I got across from me Apriel or April. You kind of messed me up a little bit earlier when we were talking. So which one is it?
Apriel is my nickname. I prefer to be called Apriel. If you've known me, you've been rocking with me like my whole life, then you probably know me as April, but I go by Apriel nowadays.
But Apriel, because the way your name is spelled, it sounds like Apriel, right?
Yes.
But they pronounce it April still.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. But how did the pronouncing it Apriel come about?
So my name is actually the Latin version of April, and it means like new beginnings. That's usually what you think about with like spring, and spring usually springs in April. So that's kind of how like my name came about.
Okay.
My grandmother named me actually.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
So, Apriel, what do you do? Can you tell the people what do you do?
Yeah, so I do a few things. I am an entrepreneur. I'm a co-founder of a dog kennel called 16th Street Bull Terriers. And I also have a portfolio of residential properties that I self-manage. And I am a business consultant. I consult around the areas of community engagement, as well as some business solutions and not-for-profit solutions and strategic planning.
Okay. So how does that community planning or strategies, how does that look like? How do you help the people?
I help people basically reaching community members that they have a hard time reaching because of my level of expertise with the community that I live in, which is North Lawndale. I think oftentimes you have neighborhoods like North Lawndale that end up being bedroom neighborhoods. So what that means is that a lot of the people who live there, they work outside the neighborhood, and by the time they make it back to the neighborhood, it's time to go to sleep. So they're not as community engaged, as civically engaged. Additionally, there are a lot of vacant lots in the ward, so you don't have block clubs being amplified, a lot of community action on like a community level being amplified. And because I've been in the neighborhood for a very long time, intergenerationally, I've used those networks and those relationships to kind of scaffold upon to build what I have today, and to offer deeper connections for any partners that are a part of my network, or any professional work or unprofessional work that I'm doing, so that the community members can really kind of get what they need from the organizations that exist in the neighborhood.
So what kind of organizations you work with right now?
So I work with a smorgasbord of organizations, some that address youth concerns, some that address returning citizens and just reentering the community. And I work with some organizations that support young women leaders who are artists or who want to try to activate their artistry through their leadership. Let me think. A few other organizations that I work with, they address concerns, deficits in the neighborhood, social determinants. So they provide mental health support, social work support, as well as community health workers. Community health working grew during COVID. There was such a disparity between Latino and Black neighborhoods and communities being given accurate information around the COVID, around the pandemic, just around like the vaccine and whatnot.
Okay.
So community health workers have become very popular, and a lot of the organizations that I work with, they work with a lot of community health workers.
Okay. So you're also a landlord, I guess.
Yes, I'm a landlord too. Yeah.
So am I.
Yeah.
So what do you see going on North Lawndale, right? You said North or West
Yeah,
Lawndale?
North Lawndale.
What do you see going on in those neighborhoods that need to be addressed?
I would have to definitely say litter, and I'm sorry about the but I feel like that's my best way to kind of buy some time to think. But litter for sure. I like if you beautify the neighborhood, I feel like that changes people's minds about what should be like happening in the neighborhood. And I think the prime example is like when folks go on vacation or when you go downtown, and you like are in the shared amenities that are like in downtowns or, you know, wherever you travel to. I feel like there's like really not much happening, right? People are like just enjoying like the landscape. So what I could imagine for a place like North Lawndale, if there was like less litter, if there was just like less like fly dumping. Because I think a lot of times people drive through the neighborhood, they see that they assume that there isn't much happening in the neighborhood, so they just decide to dump stuff, dump tires, dump wood, just dump the trash that's in their car out the window. But I think litter is like probably like something that is like super important and just beautifying like the neighborhood. So yeah, so that then you could probably increase like the walkability scores. More people would be inclined to kind of like walk around. And I have dogs, and I walk my dogs quite a bit, and I see other people walking, but not enough. I feel like more people could be, walking around.
So since there's a lot of lots, right, abandoned lots, people just tend to throw stuff out and just litter the whole community. So what can we do about that other than having a cop give tickets to the people driving by, or people just live there as well? I'm pretty sure it happens as well. What can we do to fix those things? What do you think we should be doing about fixing those things?
Yeah, I think we should be empowering block clubs or just like those kind of grassroots leaders that are taking the initiative to like clean up their block or clean up the surrounding blocks. Some of those people have been identified just through some of the organizing that I've done in the neighborhood and the relationships that I've had that I've built and grown upon, or that have grown in the neighborhood. But I noticed that it's a lot of people that are like over 50, right, that are doing this. When that particular ward, we have a really high number of individuals that are like 16 to 28. So I think there's room to like have a torch passed or to have some sort of like civic education, installed. So, I think educating people on why litter isn't good, how it could be beneficial to have an area.
There's a plethora of reasons why we shouldn't litter.
Exactly.
And the one that I get to is it's vermin.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I can't stand.
That's true.
It's
yes.
vermin,
Yeah.
They're going to our houses. They're going to our buildings. I'm a landlord. I know this.
Yep.
So vermin is like really, really bad for landlords.
Very bad.
We got called an exterminator in. They're not cheap whatsoever.
Nope.
And if you have an infestation, is that the word?
Infestation.
There you go. It gets even more expensive. So yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Word. I agree. So I feel like, education, empowering people who are already doing it. Don't bring in other like outsiders, because obviously, if there are people already having synergy around the topic, it makes sense to like feed their fire and let them to continue to grow. I feel wholeheartedly that when you have hyper-local movements or initiatives, they're more sustainable. What that means is like you want to encourage people who are living, working, and playing in a community to continue thriving in that community. So I think incorporating that, as well as with maybe some policy, not policy that's, I feel like, that's like meant to punish, like you mentioned previously, like tickets. I don't think people should get tickets, but I do think there should be some sort of like incentive to maintaining, a clean yard or maintaining your lots.
That's what they do in the suburbs, actually.
Oh, so, really?
Yeah. So if their grass is not cut, they get tickets.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, and not just suburbs. I think there's parts of the city that does that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I could imagine them doing that on the South and West Side, because there was this lady who went viral for like owing the city like $15 million. Susie Wilson.
Why?
Yeah, because she had over 800 like properties that were just dumps. Like, and the city was issuing her tickets because they were hiring rodents. Yeah. And eventually, I think, or not eventually, but like consequently, like bringing down the property values.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Of the surrounding properties. If you were just allowing people, or if you're not checking into the properties to see who's putting what on the property, dumping. So I think it's, I applaud the city for like catching that, but it also makes me think how many other landlords are holding up economic development, community development in neighborhoods where they are just kind of waiting for there to be some sort of shift. And then, now all of a sudden this parcel of land that they bought for like $10,000 is worth $180,000.
That shift. That shift is something that I'm learning about. Mm-hmm. And I knew it was there, but now I'm like really learning about this. How they're holding on to this property, not really taking care of it. And let's say they have a building and they have a storefront. Mm-hmm. And the storefront could be rented. But they're asking $5,000 for a storefront in a neighborhood that doesn't go for $5,000. Mm-hmm. Maybe it goes for $500 to get that rental, that storefront rental, or maybe $800.
Yep.
But they raised the prices all the way up to $5,000, where it can't be rented by the person that's trying to rent it.
Exactly.
So they just leave it the way it is, and the community looks like crap.
Yeah.
Instead of having someone in there that wants to do something, and they're getting some kind of money coming in, right?
Something, yeah.
They're saying, no, we want to leave it just like the way it is. And I think that's just horrible.
Yeah, I agree. I don't like that, especially, again, like I'm hyper focused on North Lawndale, like at where I'm at in my life in this stage. And I think it's because like I have nephews now and like nieces, and it's just so much more personal, you know? So, and understanding that there are neighborhoods so similar, like North Lawndale, that are on the south and west sides that have like lacking business corridors. Mm-hmm. Like the business corridor is where the money is supposed to come in. But if you don't have anywhere in your neighborhood where people can go to actually spend money, that means that all of the money is leaving the neighborhood. Yes. You know?
Well, it's going to different neighborhoods.
Exactly.
That's where we don't have food.
Exactly. Food deserts.
Yeah. Grocery stores, you know?
Laundromats. You have to, if you live in North Lawndale, you have to drive almost 1.5 miles, 2 miles to get to a laundromat. Yeah, you know, and these are things that I have a vested interest in, because, you know, with myself being a, you know, entrepreneur, a residential, you know, landlord, that means that like I have to try to make the community better for the people that I'm renting to. And I almost kind of feel like a bit like a philanthropist, right? Because a lot of landlords want to focus on private tenants. I like to work with tenants who have, you know, who have vouchers, right?
Section 8.
Yeah, Section 8 tenants, because growing up, like, we had Section 8. And I witnessed my mom having such a difficult time finding a place that didn't have rodents or didn't have, roaches, or that they would just trust, you know, a single mom with 4 kids.
We lived actually in they're called brickadikes. I don't know if you know about brickadikes.
No, I don't.
So brickadikes is almost like Section 8. They're buildings made for low income.
Really?
And the buildings or townhouses. We lived in a townhouse.
Wow.
That was for low income. So we had that voucher.
Yeah. So you get it. Yeah,
you
get
totally
it.
Get it.
You get it.
Totally
Yeah.
Get it.
Yeah.
That was in the Humboldt Park area. Yeah.
Wow. I love being educated on just like the history of Chicago and like the folks that are here. So that's a really cool fact. Well, how do you say it?
Brickadike.
Brickadike.
Yeah.
Ah. Okay.
Yeah. So we're going to dive deep into your life.
Okay,
and
word.
What makes you tick? Why do you tick the way you tick?
Word.
So who was Apriel at the age of 10?
At the age of
10. Who was
10.
that little girl?
What grade are you in at 10?
5th grade, I think.
5th grade. I was studious, very studious. I think I can remember my teacher, my Miss Balicki.
Okay. Miss Balicki?
Yeah, shout out to Miss Balicki. Yeah, I was real studious, very popular. Yeah, I think just was athletic, you know, loved to play basketball, kickball. Just, I don't know, I would like to read a lot, went to the library a lot, spent a lot of time with like my family. Like my mom would volunteer at the school because I have a younger sister that has a disability.
So who's all in your household?
So when I was 10, let me think, my mom, my stepdad, my 2 brothers, and I have a younger sister. And then I think we had pets. My mom always let us have pets, even though we were poor. We had pets. Yeah.
I love that you mentioned the pets.
Yeah.
People usually leave out the pets. And, wait, what about, the companion you had for many, many years?
Oh, absolutely.
You know?
We used to like find birds that were like, that had like broken wings and like nurse them. And like squirrels. We probably shouldn't have been doing that.
With the squirrels, no.
And possums. Like
no.
Yeah, we knew raccoons had rabies, so we didn't mess around with that.
Same thing with possums.
Possums are marsupials. They don't have rabies. I don't think they have rabies.
Look at man, stop being so smart.
No, they are.
Are they?
They're marsupials.
I'm like.
I don't think possums have. Yeah, I don't think they have rabies.
Really?
Yeah.
They're not rodents? I thought
No, they're marsupials.
I thought every rodent.
They're like sugar gliders. Have you ever seen like flying sugar gliders?
You mean flying squirrels?
No, they're called sugar gliders. I owned some, and they're also marsupials.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I had some back in like 2015.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right. You got to show me what they look like later on.
I will.
Later on.
I will. I will. Let me see if I can. I might be able to find a picture.
Do they look like a rodent?
They kind of look like flying squirrels.
Okay.
Yeah, and they at the mall they used to sell them at the mall in Wisconsin, in Madison. They called them like pocket pets, because what they do is like they're nocturnal. So like you could put them in your pocket essentially, walk around all day, and they just be asleep. And then when it like at night they come out and they crawl and they kind of like imprint on you.
Apriel, did you have
Pocket pets.
pocket pets in your pockets?
Today? No, not today. Not today, but I used to take them to work with me. I did. When I was in corporate America, I used to take them to work. And people would be like, why you got that bag? I'm like, oh. I would tell them.
And it crawls out.
They never would crawl out.
Can you imagine if they did though? How people would freak out?
Yeah, I could imagine. And I probably should have done that.
Yeah, they're probably
on my
like-
breaks, I would take them outside and like jump in the trees and stuff. Yeah, I would do that.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I would do that.
So go on with your little girl, Apriel.
Yeah.
10 years old.
Yeah, just doing the typical things that kids do. I played with like Barbies for a while. Like I feel like I was like I was one of those kids that like was a kid for a while.
Okay.
So at 10, I was still playing with like baby dolls, reading, like
That was your life. That's what you
That was
thought.
my
It was
life.
Just being a kid, watching cartoons.
basically.
Yeah.
Well, you know, we didn't like. I'm trying to think. Did we watch? I think I watched like Casper, the Friendly
The
Ghost.
Ghost.
Yeah, and like Lamb Chop. I was still watching that type of
forget.
stuff.
I forget. I'm like,
Yeah,
I forget.
and like Richie Rich.
Because you look very young, and I forget. Yeah, I remember our conversation now that we had before. Yeah, I forget.
Yeah.
You look very young.
I do.
Like me.
Yeah.
People don't know I'm 51 years old.
You definitely don't look 50. You don't even look 50 at all. That's why I was like, midlife crisis.
Yeah, 51.
I'm like, what?
So when you said Casper, I'm like,
Yeah,
I
Casper,
remember. Yeah,
the Friendly
Casper.
Ghost.
The original.
Yeah, the original.
The original.
Yeah, the original. I feel like there were a lot of lessons to learn about Casper. And then we watched a lot of WTTW. So like Arthur.
Yes.
Like we didn't have cable. So we just kind of watched what was on TV. So and read books.
Some Sesame Street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I watched that stuff. Like I would come home and just be like, oh, what a.
But that was the greatest channel when you were a kid. WTTW is one of the greatest channels because you just don't see the cartoons, but you also see about, let's say, Chicago, where we live, in different
That's true.
neighborhoods. They teach you about history
They do.
in your neighborhood or in the world.
That's true.
So I still watch every now and then.
Yeah, and I admire that too. Like, that's real. That's dope.
Yeah. So from 10 years old all the way to 15 years old, 15, 16,
Yeah.
that era. Who was Apriel?
15. Huh. Let me think. What was I doing at 15? I'm living in North Lawndale. And
So I had to say, what high school did you go to?
I'm at George W. Collins High School at 15. It was a Chicago public school at that time. I think they like revamped it. Now they turn around schools, so it's like an academy now, but it was a public school. And it was my first experience with like, I guess the Chicago public school system. It wasn't a good experience. I remember having to stand in line to get into school in the morning and go through metal detectors and carry clear backpacks. Yeah, 15 was interesting. But it was at that point I realized, okay, either I have to go up or I'm gonna fall down. So I do remember having that sort of pivotal moment, like sitting in the classroom and being like, okay, I'm in like all of the honors classes at this public school. And I knew at the end of that year, after I endured a year there, I was like, yeah, I can't stay here. I was like, I have to transfer the school ecosystem, like the social hierarchies in the school. So not like the classroom space, but the time when you're not in the classroom, it was just too distracting for me. It was way too distracting. And I decided to transfer myself out to a different school. So yeah, that's what.
You decided to transfer yourself out.
Yeah.
This was a decision you made, not your parents, not a teacher, but you.
Yeah.
'Cause you wanted something different.
Yeah.
So where did you go?
I went to North Lawndale College Prep, charter high school.
Okay.
And it's interesting, how I got in there. It's a great story. Like, I knew maybe like 4 months into my freshman year, I was like, I got to get out of this school. I'm like, there's way too much. It's too much trauma. It was a lot of trauma that I wasn't used to dealing with. So I'm like, okay, I need to try to find another school. There's this charter school that was right across the street from my house. Mm-hmm. And my grandparents would always be like, I don't know why you can't go there. It's right across the street. Mm-hmm. And I would think also the same thing. I agree. So as soon as we got our grades, I went to the school and I said, hey, I need to talk to, the principal. I want to try to get into this school. And they were like, okay, sit down and wait in the office. We'll see if he has time to see you. Do you have an appointment? I'm like, I don't. Totally spent me. I was sat in the office for like an hour, was doing my homework. Also was needing to get ready to go to work. Mm-hmm. So I was like, hey, I got to get ready to go to work. I'll be back. So I did that probably for like 4 months. Like, I was just going in there periodically, asking to speak to the principal, and they'd be like, oh, we'll help you. And they just did it. And then the last time I went in there, I kind of got a little pushy. Like, I was just like, no, you always say that. And I end up sitting here and no one comes out. He has to come out. He needs to come out and talk with me. Mm-hmm. And he ended up coming out. He looked at my grades and he was like, well, this school is a school that, academically, I don't know how strong they are. So like, we would need you to like test in to take a, test in. And I was like, well, I live across the street. I don't think this is fair that I can't attend a school that's across the street from my house.
Right, yeah.
So I think we scheduled some sort of entry test. I took it. I did really well. And then, they admitted me into the school.
Yeah, no choice.
Yeah, they had no choice.
You put your foot down.
Yeah. And the guy, Chris Kelly, talks about that still to this day. He's like, oh, Apriel, you're so tenacious. Like, I was like, y'all gonna let me in this school. How you gonna be across the street from my house?
Don't try me.
Period. Like, you gonna let me in. And they did. And I did what I said I was gonna do. I told them, I was like, I'm gonna be top of the class. Like, I'm gonna take every class, and by the time I'm a senior, y'all ain't gonna have nothing to offer me. And that's basically what happened.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. So
knocked it out the park.
Pretty much. Yeah.
So graduated from there, honors and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
You go to college. Where did you go to college?
University of Wisconsin, Madison.
So you left Chicago.
Yeah.
For how long?
I was in Madison until maybe 2012. Okay. Yeah. I was there for a while. I was supposed to graduate in 2011. Ended up being like a 5th year. Okay. So made sense. I changed my major like 17 times. The thing about like the charter school I graduated from, it was a great school, but the curriculum just wasn't rigorous enough for what I was interested in majoring in. I came in as a biochem major. I've always liked science. Wasn't always the strongest with like math, but I work hard, And the material, the coursework was really just kicking my butt. Like the OChem, the calculus, and then, testing in at a level where I've had to take so many prerequisites just to get to like that final, like that actual coursework that counted towards the degree. Mm-hmm. I was like, yeah, I don't know if I want to do this. Like, I started off like pre-med, and then maybe like after struggling a little bit and getting on like academic, probation, I was like, I need to think about something else that is like more satisfying for me. Because it was like not satisfying to struggle. The material I enjoy learning. Like, I love science. I love like evolutionary biology, nature. Like, I love the material, but it was like, I wasn't testing well. Like, I felt like I didn't know how to study. I hadn't learned how to study. Because in high school, I never studied.
You just aced everything.
Yeah.
It was easy for you.
I have a good memory. So that's why I wanted to do medical school, because I felt like with medical school, it's about reading and being able to like regurgitate. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Whereas like physics is like more of an applied science. You have to use like geometry and science to kind of figure out physics, right? Whereas chemistry is like you just memorize formulas, also math too. So that's why I thought, I'm really good at memorizing things. Maybe I'll make a good doctor, because they're just giving you information and you pretty much have to like specialize, see a client and, see a patient, and it's like, you have the common code. Because there aren't that many,
I think you would have been a great doctor.
I think I probably would have too
You
if I
still
didn't.
can.
No.
You ain't paying for that right now? You ain't paying for that?
No, I'm not paying for that right now. No. I like being an entrepreneur.
The way your bank account set up.
Right? Listen, I like being an entrepreneur. I feel like I'm changing and touching way more lives that way.
Come on,
like,
somebody.
for real.
Yeah,
I feel like I radicalize people. I bring the best out of people. And I don't think as a doctor, I don't feel like I would have been able to like feed that part of myself. That part of myself probably would have been starved out. Because you don't, I mean, there are some doctors I think that do their profession like the way that they want to, but the track that I was going, no, I was getting a lot of like social influence and like pressure. You know, when you I feel like when you grow up in a neighborhood like North Lawndale and then like you're academically sound, like you kind of become like quintessential like a black kid. It's like on some like, you know, like I don't know. It's just
No, I don't know.
Well, I feel like it's like encouraged for you to like, you know, be a leader, but like in a certain type of way. You know, like I felt like the opportunities I was given in high school were for me to be a leader and to like go somewhere else, but not to like come back. You know what I mean?
Leave.
Yeah, to leave my
and never come
neighborhood.
back.
Yeah.
Just say, hey, y'all see me?
Yeah.
You're like, no, I'm coming back in. We're changing this over here.
Exactly. And I think that's why like I'm able to do my job so well as like a consultant for not-for-profit organizations as well as for-profit organizations, because I left North Lawndale, I came back. I probably could afford to live anywhere in the city. Honestly, you know, I mean, maybe it won't be the biggest place. I might have, if it's the Gold Coast, I might have a studio, but I'm still in there. You know what I mean? But
you're still close to everything.
yeah, but I choose to live in North Lawndale. I choose
North
to.
Lawndale is beautiful.
It is beautiful.
The gray stones and the brown stones are in there. Oh my
gosh.
God.
Very
and they're
beautiful.
huge apartments.
They are.
With great woodwork inside of them.
They are.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. I love the buildings, the apartment buildings over there. They're beautiful.
They are. They're beautiful.
I need to buy one over there.
I grew up in a Greystone. Yeah, my grandparents have a Greystone that we very intergenerational living. So yeah, the Greystones, I love them. Anytime I see a Greystone, I'm just like, oh, so dreamy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the woodwork. Let's say if it's a 2 flat or a 3 flat. The stairs just going up are just beautiful.
Yeah, they are.
The woodwork in those stairs.
They are. Yep.
They're dope.
Yep.
So that was college. Graduated from state of Wisconsin. Correct?
Yep. University of Wisconsin.
University of Wisconsin, and you came back to Chicago. To
Yep.
Lawndale.
Yep.
How's that been?
Amazing. I didn't even know how much I needed community until I like really got involved. Like immediately leaving college, I was really focused on just making a living because neither of my parents were able to actually support me in undergrad. I worked 3 jobs in undergrad. So, I think I asked my parents for things if it was like absolutely necessary. And then my mom would like loan me money until I got like my refund check.
Okay.
But I would like pay her back. So right away I was like, all right, I'm in the city. I need to try to like make and save as much money as I can. It was clear to me that like, okay, my cost of living is probably my biggest bill. So like living at home is going to be the strategy for now. So I think, yeah, it was great to come back and live with my family.
There's nothing else like living where I have my own place. I have my own building. You know, I'm still thinking about going back to mom's. You know
Exactly.
Mom has a 7-bedroom, 3-bath house.
You should go back.
There's room.
There's room. There's room.
She lives there with my brother and my niece.
Yeah.
There's 4 more rooms.
Yeah. I mean, my situation wasn't as luxurious. My mom was in, she lives on the 2nd floor of a Greystone that my grandparents own. And I think there's 4 bedrooms. So when I came back from school, my brother was still there. I have a younger brother, my sister. So that's 2 bedrooms. There was 1 bedroom that was open. But the issue is I came back with a lot of stuff. So it was either have my stuff in the living room. No, like boxes.
Okay.
You know, things.
Things.
You know, things. Just things. So I opted to put my stuff in the room, and then I had a little area in the room where I could like work, like a little desk area, and then I would just like blow up an air mattress and just like sleep in the living room or like pass out on the couch if I came in like drunk.
I'm cool with that too.
So I mean, I was fine with it.
People say I'm too bougie for that. No, I'm too bougie with the stuff like wearing.
Yeah.
But I'm okay living like that. You know, not an air mattress. I'm in my back. I'm old.
Yeah. I mean, I was in my 20s, so it was okay for the time.
That's cool for your 20s, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But even now, I'm cool with that. Going back to mom's house and just having one of those rooms. You know?
Yeah.
Give me the 2nd floor, mom, of the house. No one's up there.
My mom never was the type of parent to say, okay, you are older, get out. You know, sometimes I've heard people's parents say that.
My mom was like, "You 18, you got to go."
My mom never. My grandparents are like that. They're like, my grandfather especially. He's like, all of y'all are my kids. If you ever need a place to stay, you know, come back. Like, don't endure anything that you shouldn't.
Right.
Like, come back home.
Right. No,
So
even with my kids, I'm like, "Get out."
that's so funny.
I'm like Cliff Huxtable.
That's
Get out.
that's funny. Get out. Get out.
Come back for food, but then leave.
That's funny. Oh man,
Take your kids with you.
that's too funny. Oh
Love my grandchildren. I love my grandchildren, but they gotta go home.
yeah, that's fair.
I'm in the stage of my life where I'm doing this kind of thing, and
Yeah.
I just want to travel.
Yeah.
and experience new places and whatnot.
Yeah.
I follow this guy. He's in I forgot his name, but he's in Thailand right now. He's from the hood.
Really? Just out in Thailand.
He's living in Thailand.
Living his best life.
In a high-rise condo, big, beautiful condo that he's paying
Wow.
$700 a month.
Wow.
His
You
light-
can never rent a place for that much here.
Yes, his light bill.
$700?
His light bill's like $10. They have to pay for water, so he said his water's $3.
What?
And he just travels all over Thailand and whatnot.
That sounds amazing.
He's straight up from the hood,
Wow.
and he's just like, I'm living my best life out here.
That's amazing. I love that. That's the best. Like here, like
I'll show you who he is.
Yeah,
He's
that's
pretty
the
cool.
best.
Pretty cool guy.
Yeah.
He's really loud, but he's pretty cool. I
okay.
want to go meet him. He's gonna be like, "You from Chicago, bro? I just want to meet you. I'm gonna come out to Thailand, and I will. I'll jump on the plane and go.
Yeah, you should interview him.
I have no
That'd be
problem
dope.
with traveling by myself.
Word.
I'll jump on the plane and I'm gone.
Word. I agree. That's the same way how I feel.
Word.
Yeah.
So now, at part of your life, where are you? Where's
Right
your mind at?
now,
Where
or-
you want to go to? What do you want to achieve in
Yeah.
this part of your life? In this page, your
Yeah.
book.
I want to find some equilibrium between like community and like my passions. I feel wholeheartedly that like community should be what community wants it to be. So that's why I'm so committed to civic engagement and community engagement. Like I really care to hear about what the individuals who live in the neighborhood would like to see, and they should really be catalyzing like the new developments and kind of the new economic opportunity that comes into the neighborhood, and just being on theme with that. Like where I am currently, I am the chief operating officer of a newly established chamber of commerce in North Lawndale, and very proud to have that title because I do believe that there are local business owners who would like to establish businesses on our corridors. And we want to kind of get a head start before people kind of set their eyes on this neighborhood that is in such close proximity to like downtown and public transit amenities, right? Because people have already kind of like noticed that about us. So yes, I want to definitely continue furthering that work. I'd also like to make my way into commercial real estate, so that I can support other entrepreneurs like myself by designing just like hybridized spaces so that, you know, if they want to do collective work, if they need individual spaces, micro spaces, you know, whatever the calling is, whatever the niche is. And yeah, continue being like tethered to community, being community centered. I do some work not overseas, but like I go like my dad's from Africa. I go back to Rwanda. He's from Rwanda. I go back like once a year, and I work with a not-for-profit there. It's called Share Love Rwanda.
You're doing a lot.
And I told you I'm a bit of a philanthropist. So I want to continue that, and I want to find a way to kind of like, again, create some equilibrium, some synergy. And I don't know if that looks like, you know, bringing folks to Rwanda to experience the culture there and the vibrancy.
Take me. I want to go.
Right? Or is it, you know, is it like understanding their practice around restorative justice and forgiveness, because Rwanda is most popular for the genocide that happened in the 90s, and people are always they always are intrigued when I tell them, hey, I'm Rwanda, and they're like, oh, what about the genocide? But there's been this huge practice around like restorative justice and just like forgiving. And I feel like so many scholars have like written about it. And I feel like a place like Chicago could learn something about that. Because I feel like it's too much eye for an eye, a lot of like revenge, kind of vengeful actions, when I think at least what I've learned from like people there and family there is that you have to forgive. And like when you don't forgive, that energy, it like manifests in your body, and it can take over your mind. Definitely, and 100%. Your spirit, and whatever you feel like your discernment is. So yeah, I would just rather people focus on like love and do things out of love. Okay. So I would like to continue doing things out of love and not war.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
more peace. We definitely need more peace. So you're part of a fellow. You are a fellow.
Yes.
You're in Community Leadership Fellows.
Yes.
How's that been for you?
That's been amazing. I feel like my network has expanded exponentially. I keep mentioning that like I'm hyper local, which means that to me it means like I know a lot about where I live. And when I live somewhere, I try to live there, work there, play there, fully engulf myself. So it's helped me learn about the surrounding Westside communities, as well as like the leaders that are there. Placemaking, asset mapping. Again, if there's something already cooking up in a neighborhood around a topic you're interested in, you have to pay deference to those individuals that are already like activating around those actions. Like for example, if somebody is doing a slow food movement or something where they want to cook meals to share with like other community members. You don't go in and say, well, also I want to do this. You have to collaborate. You need to collaborate. Or do something different and invite them to your table, right. So I feel like that this fellowship has allowed me to like meet more people on the West Side, so I can kind of expand upon like my entrepreneurship, as well as like the things I'm interested in that are like more civic based, more philanthropic,
Okay. What has been your like the time you're always going to remember with CLF, like a class you took? What will be that class?
I feel like the project management class, even though it wasn't like a mandatory class.
That was last week.
Yeah. That really stands out to me because I feel like I often do multiple things. So I don't necessarily sit with professional development very often. I feel like I learn while I'm doing. So it was helpful to have designated time to sit and learn and brush up on some professional development, because I have been exposed to project management. And yeah, I feel like those are skills, necessary skills you need to do anything.
You do. I came in like maybe the last half hour of that class.
Yeah.
And I learned a little bit too. And I was like,
See?
This is pretty dope.
Exactly.
So yeah, I was happy that I could see you guys were all into it.
Yeah.
You guys were playing roles. Each one of you guys were playing some kind of role.
We were.
And he was just answering what would happen if you went a certain route.
Yeah. Shout out to Cameron Riley Townsend.
Yeah. So that was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
It was only a half hour. You guys were there for like what, 2 hours?
Yeah, 2 hours.
Right. And I only called a half hour. And
yeah.
I was just like, I need to take this class too.
I think that we should take that. They should have that class. I think they could offer it like 2 times.
I think they're going to. I think Alex is going
to do that. Because it was so helpful. And again, it allowed me to kind of like create a name or assign a bucket to things that I kind of already do. Because when you learn project management, since you don't do it all the time, sometimes like certain, key functions or key definitions you stop using. So then you kind of make your own like functions and assessments for it. So it kind of, I like the fact that it brought me back to like the start, because I'm really good at like finding solutions, and I also creating systems. So I'll just make up my own system. But to go back to kind of like, well, this is actually the project management system that everybody is familiar with. It's like a language, It's like you can't just be out here making up your own languages, And
I like that he had something already done that he did, and it wasn't AI.
Yeah.
It wasn't AI, because AI could do a lot of things.
That's true. And it was something that it was very, you're right. It was very interactive.
I remember that part. It
was very interactive. Yeah.
So that was good stuff. So April, we're going to be finishing up. In the next 5 years, where do you see yourself?
Let's see. Maybe still participating in like community development and like economic development in the neighborhood. What else do I see in 5 years?
Do you have married, kids?
I don't know. I don't really think about. I feel like I mainly romanticize like my career. Like I don't really.
All right.
I don't.
Entrepreneur, man.
Yeah.
Through and through. Yes.
Yeah. I see myself like furthering some of the ideas that I'm working on now. And yeah, adding more properties to like my portfolio with an emphasis on, supporting those who have like, who subsidize housing.
Yes.
Because I like to, I don't know, it's the best feeling in the world to provide people with like good housing, like give them dignity, and to kind of, redirect or correct that like stigma. Maybe doing some speaking engagements. I love to like talk more about how I've been able to acquire what I've had, and empower some other people. I don't really like to speak on like bad deeds or good deeds often, but I think if it's to help someone, I don't mind doing that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's kind of where I see myself.
Good stuff. Good stuff. I love this interview that we had because we got to open up. We got to talk. We had a really good dialogue.
Yeah.
Right? We had a conversation. That's what podcasting's about.
That is true.
You know what I'm saying? Just having a dialogue. We're dipping in, we're dipping out, we're dipping back in. Getting back into the conversation and just, talking about traveling and whatnot. This was a really good interview, and I thank you for coming down to the...
Thank you.
Look at that. I'm a little bit stoned now. The Community Leaders Podcast. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me.